Check, check, check. How we all doing today? Check, check. Check, check, check. Sweet. You can hear me hearing myself in the background. We'll get started here in just a minute. The one thing I get so self-conscious on at the start of all these videos, I hear myself nose breathing. I apologize for that. If it drives you nuts, it drives me nuts too. I promise you. All right, let's get into it. Let's make sure we're all locked and loaded, that the video is popping up. I'll give it a second here because I'm on a 10-second delay. All right, looks good. Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, I want to answer the essential question: when is alt season coming? And what are the scenarios if it's coming earlier or later? What's the latest possible scenario for alt season? I'm going to get into those two scenarios in my mind, whether we get an alt season soon by March, or more of a 4-year cycle, or even more, even longer. Could alt season be coming in 2026? I'm going to show you the data that leads me to believe one or the other, or as far as what to look for if we do have an early alt season or a later alt season. Let's get into fear and greed. That's one of the shticks that this channel's all about. Stock's been down in fear, whether you look at CNN or pie vesting. But when you look at crypto, we're still up in the greed. So is that foreshadowing? Stocks have been sort of the front runner or leading indicator for crypto. Is stocks being bearish a sign of things to come for crypto? We'll see. Just going to run through some charts and pictures really quick. I talked about these in my earlier stock market video. Just something to keep in mind. New president. Around the inauguration, we can be sideways for a few months. That's normal. And as far as the newly elected president coming in, the most bearish years in a presidency tends to be the second year, and that lines up with the 4-year cycle. We are still in a non-recessionary environment. The Fed says they're about to pause rates. All good stuff. We already know this. Let's get into crypto fear and greed. That's why y'all are here. So crypto, we are still up in high greed. We've been up in extreme greed. Going over the last few months, you can see, though, we are in somewhat of a downtrend. So hopefully we don't just fall off the table and Bitcoin goes down to something like 74K. But you can see here, when we compare the spikes in greed to that of March, kind of similar. So we are hoping to not see one of these. Okay, we are hoping to stay up high in greed because last cycle, when we got alt season, we stayed high in greed. Now, I'm not saying that we have to be up here in the 90s. Maybe crypto can just stay above the 70s. And if it does that for 2, 3, 4 months, I think then the likelihood of an early alt season is coming. We got some people coming into the live. Welcome, everyone. If you have any requests for altcoins for me to do technical analysis on that are available on Coinbase, Robinhood, or even stocks, comment below. Be happy to help you all out. Do you think that with Trump this time, from DG Comics, that it might be a little more proactive, considering, considering this isn't the usual presidency? You know, to be honest, DG Comics, and I'm not a partisan person as far as either side. So just to make it clear, I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump. There's things I like about him, things I don't like. But I'll say this: they are crypto friendly, and whoever we've had in office, whether it's been Trump or Trump was during this time, or Biden, crypto is going to do what crypto is going to do. So do I think it could help in the long term? Sure. To what degree? I feel that is hard to measure out. there's a lot of bullish sentiment, but we'll see. I think there's to try to make this as concise of an answer for you as I can. I think there's a lot of macroeconomic forces that might counteract any sort of bullish sentiment there is, and one of which I talked about a couple of them in my earlier stock video. Stocks are very overextended. They have been for a while. There's indicators out there showing that a recession could be a year or so away. If you believe those indicators, talking about the yield curve inversion, right here, this pretty much always precedes a recession. When the yield curve uninverts, we have inflation fears. So for any positive news for crypto, there's also some negative macro news. And I'm a little hesitant to say, yeah, Trump's pro crypto, all these things. I think, yes, that could be part of the narrative when the markets are driving up. However, that is not influencing my price targets. It's not influencing how high I think Bitcoin can go. Sorry for the long-winded answer. I did my best to shorten it. As far as we're going to get back into the charts here. And again, please feel free to post any questions down below. You can see the alt year cycle. We are making a higher low. So there might be some good deals in altcoins. Even if Bitcoin does go lower or dominance goes higher, we are in altcoin, Bitcoin miner discount territory again. So do be looking for discounts, even if they go lower. Hope you have a plan. I do videos every week on the crypto cycle. Subscribe if you want to hear that. I try to do live streams on Fridays whenever I can. I wasn't going to have a lot of time today. You guys are going to laugh at me. My dog had a grooming appointment that got canceled, but that's okay. The groomer's fantastic, though. But we can see here that Bitcoin, now there's a couple ways of looking at this. One, you could say, well, we're at medium value. Sure, but I will add that each peak has gone down in these upper values. So that just by this trend, and you can see this even more so in the old rainbow chart that was invalidated. I get comments every once in a while. People say, oh, the rainbow chart's trash. I'm not saying you have to just buy into the rainbow chart, but what I think is important to look at is the logarithmic, that's factors of 10, the regression, how it goes out to the right. And even if we look at the old rainbow chart, there's no denying the peaks go down a few bands each time. And if you just take that average, it would have us somewhere around 160K for the next peak. And here, if we just go to the orange bands and we go out to April, you can see 160Ks in one of those orange bands. So something to consider. I'm not saying you have to believe in the rainbow chart. I don't promote any sort of cult thinking or following here for any indicator, but we try to combine them together, see if there's some confluence in the data out there. I do have a background in the field of psychology and as a scientific researcher, and something I look for and consider is data. And if I have a hypothesis, maybe my hypothesis is Bitcoin to 155K. I need to show how I can get there in different ways. I need to be able to replicate my path to get there with good data. And that's why I'm trying to pass off to you guys. We'll get into Bitcoin miners, like I said. We'll talk about some of those. And let's get into crypto. So we'll put this on log scale. I need to clean this up. So let's turn off the moving averages just for now. Make this a little cleaner. I'll turn off the fib in a second too. Actually, I could do that right now. So Bitcoin, you can see here that we have this double top trend line from 2021, and we have this trend line, Bitcoin. I know it's not the best trend line, but they both have been converging around this area up here, and that's where Bitcoin is at right now. We zoom in on the daily. You can see that this is the double top trend line. We do have a sell signal on the daily, and I believe on the weekly as well. So usually when we get a sell signal, we can tend to see this play out for a couple weeks to a month or so, as you've seen in the past. On average, about a month. So if we get 2 to 4 red candles, don't be surprised. But where would that put us? Would it put us below that trend line? Would it put us at one of the moving averages? You can see here we have the different 20-week moving averages. I would not be surprised if a few red candles in a row would get us down to this 80K number. Going in on the daily, you can see the 50-day moving average is holding up support. So maybe we could take a look at, there's the 100-day moving average here at around 85, and the 200-day moving average would be around 75, 76K. So that would be at worst. Now, one of the things I've been talking about with the fibs and 155K more or less being my target, not that we can't wick above or anything like that. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm drawing the fib from the high to the low. You take your fib off log scale, though your chart has to be on log, and that's how we get these targets of the 1618, which Bitcoin just hit at 101K, and the 2618 at 155K. When we zoom in, or actually when we zoom out, and we take a look at the weekly, what do we notice here? Now, I do have on Heikin-Ashi candles. Bitcoin only ever wicked above the 1618, and it never really was closing above. So in order to be truly bullish, I want to see Bitcoin get above this 1618. Now, this last pump got finally above the all-time highs in 2021. Even though March made new highs, what do we see here on the weeklies with the Heikin-Ashi candles? No candles were closing above. Even if it's a tiny candle, slightly closing above, I want to see continuous candle body action, not just the wicks, but the wicks only ever got above it, and it did it a number of times. How many weeks did we have wicks above? 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess 8, 9, 10? Around 10 before finally it got up. So are we going to see something similar? If so, that could play more into the 4-year cycle. But if this correction is kind of shallow and then going back up, then you'd be taking a look at an earlier alt season. Now, a lot of people out there have been talking about earlier alt season because there's a lot of indicators, I'm not going to go through all of them, to show that this was the true peak of Bitcoin. Even though the price was higher, this was where we got alt season. It was in March, April 21. Maybe that's going to happen. If so, Ethereum is going to have to turn on the afterjets very soon. And it doesn't show, I don't think we have enough time for that. I think as this cycle plays out, it is leading me to believe that we are more in a 4-year cycle territory, at least for alt season. So not saying we can't get another Bitcoin spike, but what I care about alt season. When Bitcoin dominance goes down. And by the way, if any of you are disheartened by this correction, keep perspective. I was in here in 2017, and these 40% corrections were hilarious. I got into some altcoins. I was very lucky. And I'll remind you, I did not see the altcoins that I had really explode until around here. It was late 2017, December, to the first week of January 2018. So you get a few weeks when altcoins just explode because there's that rotation in Bitcoin dominance. Right now, give or take, it's around 60% of all money in crypto is in Bitcoin. When that's rotating into altcoins, that's when you see that explosion. Okay, look at all these corrections. Never mind even the COVID correction and all this back here. But alt season was up here. So the whole point of buying altcoins, Bitcoin mining stocks, you got to be patient. You have to laugh at, in my opinion, try to laugh at these corrections and just get in at the discounts. So right now you have to ask yourself an essential question. Do you believe in alt season? If so, you have to put your money where your mouth is. If you don't truly believe in alt season, you're taking a risk. And well, we're all taking a risk, but you're taking a bigger risk. But if you want to be part of it, you can just use some play money and educate a gamble. But do know if you're doing that, you're not going to see the amazing profits that you could. And even with that, even with people like myself who have invested thousands and thousands into crypto and into alts and miners, I get a couple weeks for myself to take profits. That's how quick you need to act in this environment. When we get alt season, we don't get very long. And all alts and miners run it. They go at different times, but here's what we're looking for. We'll get into Bitcoin dominance right now. You'd see in 2017, look how many weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that date, January 8th, that was doomsday. That's when alts were going down by like 50%. So 2021, and we're going to get to 2021 here. I think there's a lot to take from this as far as markets today. What do we see? Let's take off this fib first of all. This is a mess. We see when it's getting under this blue line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a month and a half. Yeah, May 10th is when alt season was done. So 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And during that 4 to 6 week window, you get a week or two to sell your altcoin or miner near the top. Now, I recommend you don't have to just wait for this to happen for that rotation, which kind of teased people, but now it's looking bullish again. You don't have to wait for that rotation to happen if you have price targets. For example, if you're an XRP cult homeboy, I would not blame you for taking a lot of profits right now for XRP. Even if it goes a little bit higher, something to consider with those large caps is how much higher can it go? If you're in large caps or some medium, smaller caps, the medium, smaller caps can still run a lot, but they are more of a risk. They're not as guaranteed to run. Nothing's guaranteed. But Solana right now is at a decent value, and maybe you'll wait for all you need is a 2x or something. Yes, Solana, XRP, those make sense. But look at these market caps, or give or take 100 billion. So keep that in perspective as far as what returns you want and price targets. We got a couple comments. Crypto Golfer, in my opinion, we have a muted alt season. Usually alt season is a rotation out of Bitcoin into alts. I know personally I'm not rotating out this time around. Okay. And DG Comics fully think 140, 180K is a fair range for this Bitcoin run. The arc of Bitcoin peaks is evident. It gets less aggressive each bull run. On your point, Bitcoin has to top out before the real money starts rotating. Yes, 100%. There is I want to see if I can find the indicator. If I can't find it on the first couple tries, I am going to give it up. I believe this is it. Oh yeah, I saved it. Sweet. Oh, good. Let's remove this. So, does it matter if I take... No. Keep it on log, boy. My God. So this is one. It's called a logarithmic regression. And I think to our point, let me get rid of these fibs. It's hard to see all that's going on. So this is, again, like the rainbow chart. And you can see how Bitcoin gets into these elevated zones. Now, this is just 2017, 2021. But it doesn't have to get all the way up to the peak. You can see 2017, the peak of the logarithmic regression on this indicator. Okay, don't just go by one indicator, whether it's pi cycle or whatever. But you can see it doesn't always touch the very top, but when it hits this midline, we're close to the top. Okay, is it there yet? No. But where's that midline? That's around 126K. I hope you all can see it on the screens. Let me double check, make sure this is showing up for you. Okay, sweet, it is. Up here, if you look to the right, what does that say? 176K. Now, this can go out a little bit. It might get to 180K. And I brought this up before that since the last cycle, we've had inflation. We've had inflation and our dollars are worth 20% less. So in my opinion, I've said, why can't Bitcoin be worth 20% more? It's not that it's technically worth 20% more, but our dollars are worth 20% less. So within that 20% higher target, I would look for that. And that 155K, by the way, that 2618, 20% higher than that is around 185K, which is near the top of this. So I think, again, as a good scientist, we want to replicate. We want to have good replication. We want to scrutinize. If I'm showing you a target of 175K and I'm scrutinizing that, I need to back this up with other data. I showed you that with the fib. I've showed you that on this other rainbow chart. If we're just going by the patterns of diminished returns, that the orange band, let's go out into April, 157 to 200K, that's in that range, even though it's at the bottom. And heck, if we go to a 4-year cycle, I need to talk about this right now, and then we'll get into altcoin analysis. The orange band's all the way up at 192 to 240. So I know it's disheartening to see these corrections, but if alt season is happening later in 25 or even 26, I don't know, and we get a later alt season, that's a good thing. I know it's harder to wait for, but it's a good thing because that just means more money is going to rotate. If you believe in alt season, again, you probably won't care about what I'm saying unless you believe in alt season. God damn it, I believe in alt season. I've made money off it the last 2 times, so I'm banking on it again. I'm not out budgeting myself. I'm not putting the mortgage, not taking out loans. I'm being smart. I have a budget, and I hope alt season comes. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If we do get an alt season, I'll make good money. Everything's a risk out there, but I believe in alt season. And if we do have to wait later, on one hand, it sucks. On the other hand, we get more time to put money in and dollar cost average in, and we get bigger returns. And so whether we get an early or later alt season, I don't care. I want to have a strategy that works regardless. And again, be patient. Be patient. They didn't put in all the drawdowns in here, but we can see up to 10 or so large drawdowns. That's okay. You have to believe. So I wanted to talk about, as far as earlier, oh boy, let's get rid of this indicator. I wanted to talk about alt season, whether it's earlier or later, and what I'm looking for. One more comment from Crypto Golfer. I guess as I get older, I'm becoming more of a Bitcoin maxi. And that makes sense because as we get older, we don't want to take on as much risk. We want to retain the value of the money that we've obtained. Although I do hold some Solana. My guess is everyone becomes a Bitcoin maxi as they approach retirement. Yeah, I can see it. And that makes sense. All right, let's talk about alt season here. When is alt season coming? You can see here, now bear in mind, look at dominance back in early 2017. 96%. Tons of altcoins were being created. Now there's this big fall, a secondary peak, and then boom, that's when alt season happened over the course of a week. And from that first initial large fall, you see that's about July, let's just say 6 months, half a year. Here's where Bitcoin dominance first peaked, September 2019. You know what else was happening in September 2019? That was ETH Bitcoin bottoming. I think this is important for us to keep in the back of our heads. ETH Bitcoin bottom here, September 2019. Alt season wasn't until April, May of 21. Where's April, May? Okay, it's in here. It's in this big move up. And by the way, drew this upward trend line here, just connecting the dots. It's at about 0.5. Basically what this means, ETH compared to Bitcoin, is that ETH at this peak, if it hits the trend line, will have a market cap about half of Bitcoin. And by the way, Bitcoin's market cap at 155K, that 2618, its market cap will be around 3 trillion. To me, that makes sense. It's near some of the top stocks in the world. If it gets around 3 trillion and ETH gets up here to the 0.5, that means it'll have half the market cap, around 1.5 trillion. So ETH with the market cap of 1.5 trillion, if the peaks coincided, that would be around 12K. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay. So you can see here from September 2019, you guys know how hard it is for me to stay on track. Jesus. You can see it was about 600 days. 600 days. Burn that into your brain. Let's make the argument that ETH Bitcoin just bottomed here. And maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Where are my indicators? Why did my indicators go away? I might have to reload my screen. Well, let's say we're going to have an average of 600 days until we get a true alt season. Where is 600 days? That's in July of 2026. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take this long, but I do think this is something to keep in the back of our minds because what did we talk about before? We have this inauguration done. Okay. What if you're hearing this in the news? I'm sure they're talking about inflation. What if inflation reaccelerates and the Fed has to start raising rates sooner than later? Okay. Well, when inflation accelerates and peaks, let me zoom out here. I have the white lines marking inflation on the S&P. Inflation tends to be near market bottoms. Okay. And we're going to go this one, obviously, great financial crisis, fell off a cliff. Inflation, the white line, near the S&P bottoms. Let's go to the 70s when inflation, there's a lot of parallels to now in the 70s. When inflation was a true problem, you can see when we get the inflation peaks, it's near these market bottoms. Here is right on it. But my point is this, is if inflation starts to accelerate sooner than later and we get a correction that surprises the hell out of everyone, as inflation starts to spike, that'll be the next bottom to really go in hard and invest hard into. Because if you don't, again, our dollars become worth less. The stocks start to rip after inflation gets under control. And so I've been playing this with this idea in my mind. I said, Bitcoin dominance shows that it took 600 days last time. Ethereum needs to move really freaking quick to get to that 0.5 area or 10 to 12K. You can see Ethereum's a third of that, 25% of that. So if we're just drawing comparisons, I'm thinking to myself, what needs to happen from now until then if we are to get an alt season? Again, this is if we get an alt season. Because let's say you don't believe in alt season, you don't give a crap about any of this. You might just say, you know what, maybe the peak's coming soon. We get a very mild alt season and that's that. Okay. I'm going by the what if game. This is just it. I'm trying to answer the questions if we get alt season earlier or later. And this to me is the latest possible scenario if inflation starts to spike sooner than later. And let's just go over to inflation. Been hearing a lot of talk about inflation. I'm like, okay, let's take a look at the data. If this is anything like the 70s where we're going to get a second inflation spike, a big one, whether it's as big or bigger, who knows? And if we are to draw comparisons between these, then, well, let's take a look at this. Let's say that was the bottom. How far would that be to the next peak? Well, that'd be a ways out. So 1,100 days. All right. So maybe we don't have as much to worry about. Where would 1,100 days be? 27? All right. 2027. Watch out for inflation. Buy the dip. But I think even if that plays out, even if we're drawing comparisons there, whether there's a market dip in 2026, like everyone's talking about, and that lines up with, where is it? The second year of the presidency, lines up with when inflation might be peaking again. That's what a lot of economists are saying, that we're going to get another wave of inflation. I'm just trying to think, how does that fit in with crypto and the alt season? But if it's going to be that far out, then I think we can get alt season long before it. Okay. Thank you for hearing me talk and rant about inflation and crypto. Let's just put a nice bow on the Bitcoin dominance, and then we'll get into altcoin analysis. I'm trying to give you guys good macro data to just keep in the back of your mind, because it's impossible to say when is alt season. Who knows? But I'm trying to at least mentally prepare you for if an alt season were to come a lot later, just in case. Because if that happens, ask yourself, how many people are going to stay in crypto or these altcoins? If that were to play out, if we get this 2026 alt season, then a lot of people would not still be in. And that could be an amazing opportunity to make money. If all of a sudden everyone in the crypto space is like, what? Alt season's canceled. This is bullshit. Just get into Bitcoin. That's all that matters. When you hear that, in my mind, again, we look for value when there's fear. If I hear that much FUD and fear, I'm going in heavy. I'm doing the opposite. So Bitcoin dominance, let's just take a look at this. We do have some nice candles above trying to shoot this sucker down. Let's take a look at, let's add on an RSI indicator. I like this ultimate RSI one. It's become one of my new favorites. This ultimate RSI, when's it going to rip down? Now, just drawing comparisons from the past, you can see we were getting bearish divergence even when the Bitcoin dominance was staying up high. Eventually, it rotated over. Okay, look at how bearish this was for a while before dominance rotated over. The strength is still high here, and we might see the RSIs really rip down, but that not be the bottom yet until it does it again. So I think this just shows there's more time before alt season. Unless Ethereum, here's the one thing, if we are to get an early alt season, unless Ethereum starts moving really soon, then I'm not so sure about that. Let's draw this fib out a little bit. Do the best we can with that. Let's get rid of that. So Ethereum, at least on the weekly, nice support off that's the 786, rejected off the 888. If it gets above this wedge and does more than just a wick, then yeah, maybe Ethereum starts to rip. But you've seen the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. If we are to get an alt season like this, we have to start moving. Now, if this was the bottom, the one good bit of news is Ethereum doesn't have to move 300%, give or take. If we're only going to the 0.5, it's got to do not even half that amount of strength as it did back here. So maybe it will be half the amount of time, which would fit in right with the 4-year cycle. Half the strength, half the amount of time, that would fit in. All right. DG Comics. Sweet cheeses. I have to get an alt season this time around. I wrote it down last time. I'm with you there, brother. I've been there in 2018. My bags are packed this time. I'm ready to get out. Okay? DG Comics. Nothing I say is financial advice, obviously. When are you getting out? You don't have to type it below, but just I want you to make sure you have a plan in your head, a solid plan. Are you getting out when Bitcoin dominance is down here in the low 40%? Are you getting out when Bitcoin is at the 2618 or in the orange bands at around 155K? Do you have price targets for your altcoins? I just want you to answer those questions for yourself and have a backup plan. Let's just say, let's go to ETH. Let's say you're all in on Ethereum and you're like, you know what? I listen to this market psychology guy. He's kind of an idiot, but he says Ethereum might get to these levels. I'm going to sell my bag of Ethereum at the 2618, 11.3. Maybe it goes to 12,000. I don't care. That's where I'm selling. I hope you have a backup plan in case, if this is how you're looking at price targets, whether it's this or market cap, what do you do if your price targets don't hit or if it gets a little lower? So myself, what I do is I take out certain percentages, and if it almost gets there but then starts to come back down, when this starts happening, when we start getting this blow off top alt season, hopefully, I am taking the perspective of a trader. I try to be an investor, but here's where I take a perspective of a trader and I say, where are my price targets and where's my stop losses after those price targets? So let me repeat that. Let's say I have a price target here at the 1618, 2618, and I take a certain percentage of profit here. Okay. After it goes up, where is my stop loss if it doesn't keep going as it comes back down? Just make sure that's part of your plan. Nothing I say here is financial advice, but I don't want you to wait for a target that doesn't hit either and have those factored out. I want you to be able to think with your frontal lobe, your thinking brain, instead of your emotional brain, because when it's euphoric times, you know this as well as me. This was euphoric times. I had a frickin' 200X in Tron, or 100X, something like that is crazy. I was like, man, I hit the big time. This thing's going to go up forever. And then it didn't. Still made great profits. But damn it, I could have had more realized profits if I wasn't being so damn greedy back here. This time around, or in 2021, I was better. But in 2017, expensive lesson to learn. Bitcoin hit 93.2 about an hour ago. Seems like 92 is getting bought consistently like last month. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. I don't really zoom in too much. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a couple things going on here. So I went to the 30-minute chart. You can see this base is holding from these prior drops back here at around 92K, low 92, 93. Yeah, I mean, if it breaks underneath those, we could see it. We could see it go lower. Where you want to look where some of these lows were. This low right here, that's going to be a big one at around 91. And then even after this big move up, I mean, we can just keep going down, but I'm taking a look at where, yeah, I'd say 91, roughly, give or take. And that's right around where this trend line is. And then if it gets under there, as you know, we take a look at moving averages. I don't really zoom in underneath the daily too much, but if this 50 does break down, I'm waiting for the 100, the 100-day moving average. And maybe we get 86K. But the thing that concerns me about the 100 is look at this gap here. We don't have to put on a big volume gap. It's possible that if Bitcoin breaks under here, that this gap, it goes boom all the way down. And you can see here, this peak, 94K, that's about where this 200-day moving average is. So that's, in my opinion, a very most bearish scenario in the near term if Bitcoin's going to have a big correction. If Bitcoin gets down to 74K, 75, whatever, I'm going to be looking for a lot of discounts on alts. I would not mind that as far as getting in again, because ask yourself this. Back in mid-December, a lot of you were probably thinking to yourself, man, am I going to be able to buy altcoins at a discount anymore? A lot of them were running hard. Well, it's possible now you can. But again, you know, what's your plan? Do you put in a certain percentage here and more down here? That's, again, I'm dollar cost averaging in here at the start of next month. And if it goes lower, I'm putting in more. And that's fine by me. All right. A couple more comments and then let's get into altcoins. I have my price targets when Pi cycle hits and other indicators are part of it. Cool. Glad you have a plan. Solana is my only alt, selling 25% at 250, 25% at 300, and 350. Okay, let's take a look at Solana. Pretty sure I've been charting the Coinbase one. Yes, I have. All right. What do we got for Solana? So look at this. Solana came down to the upper end of the channel and the 200-day moving average. I think that's pretty dang bullish. You don't want to see it get back in the channel. You want to see a good bounce off here. And again, all these altcoins are going to go the way crypto or Bitcoin goes. But if we zoom out, what are these Solana price targets? I like Solana this cycle. I know it's been getting crapped on recently. All the more reason to believe in it, in my opinion. So you're talking about between 250 and 350. That's great. Because look at this. That's below the 1618 at 416. I've been hearing people talk about Solana to 1,000. And for perspective, you know, if Solana goes to 1,000, let's just say this is 200 to make this simple. Let's say Solana's going to do a 5x. Okay. And then we're talking about Solana getting near a $500 billion market cap. I've long contested that, or said that the largest, best altcoin outside of Ethereum, that would be my target area, 400 to 500 billion this time around. And I'm just taking that by percentages of prior cycles. And there's no guarantee that top altcoin Solana, but if so, that would have Solana up here. Now, I'm not telling you to gamble and wait for that. If you got Solana down here, man, at 11 or 20, you are more than happy where it is. And you're being smart here. But I would not be surprised to see it even getting up this high. At the 2618, that would be about a 3x or so. But again, we're talking about Solana at around 300 billion. That seems kind of crazy. So I don't blame you at all for those price targets. I think those are very good price targets, especially if you got in lower. We got to see the sucker turn around. My God. Let's add in our buy sell signal indicator. Still a sell signal. And maybe later, I'm sure a lot of these are going to be staying in sell signal. So maybe we'll take a look at different RSIs, seeing if some of the RSIs are already bottoming. So yeah, you can see Solana still on its way down. Let's go over to one of my favorites, Link. Ugh. So Link, let's say there is a little bit of a correction coming. You can see a move down for Link. If it got down here, I would not be surprised to see it get back down to the teens. So right there, it's holding the 618. I would not be surprised to see Link get down here. I mean, it was at this 236 fib. We have the 382 in this trend line. If Link gets back down into the teens or the low, around 10, 11, 12, I'd say that's a good area for a Link. Might get some candle body support here at 16 and some wicks down here. That'd be the next big discount territory for Link. Here's one I haven't seen much on. Can we check ZIL? ZIL. Why is that? I have not. I know what it is, but I haven't looked at this one. Oh, yes. I've seen this one before. Where is this one? It's number 173, $415 million market cap. Zilliqa. Is this one on Coinbase? I would assume. By the way, have you seen that Robinhood, not only have they listed Pepe, but they listed another altcoin recently too. I think Bonk. So I definitely want to take a look at some of those. Zilliqa. Yeah, I think, with the stochastic RSI, we're seeing some similarities. A lot of these may have a little bit of room to go down. Just keep in mind if we are hitting a bearish phase. Let's zoom way out here. Okay. Now, one thing that does concern me is look at its most recent low. I would have liked more if the low was back here. So if we do get a major correction, it's possible another low happens. And if so, anytime you see a low, I like to look to the left. Where was this low? Back here. The next low might be down here at around a penny, or, even worse. So we'll chart from the high to the low. We'll do the fib thing, but the other area you could look for that I try to find sometimes is, let's do that. I'll do 0.09. This is good at catching some of those sell-offs below the last low, if there is another sell-off. God dang. I'm always messing with this dang thing. Here we go. That's better. All right. So right now, ZIL, it's underneath the 200, or it's underneath the 236. It has the 50-day moving average. We have bearish crosses back here. Bullish cross would be seeing this 50-week moving average move above these. It is underneath this 236 though. And so there's not a lot holding it up outside of some horizontal trend lines. But if it did get lower, the next area to catch would be around 80% of a penny. So yeah, I would say that would be deep value here. Now, if you really love Zilliqa, okay, this is a little bit more bullish on the daily. If you really love Zilliqa, you can say that, it's at deep value here. The dashed line is kind of drawing it out, but I'm going to ignore those wicks up here. Another thing you can do is just draw trend line. Let's go from this peak here. Is it truly breaking out? As soon as it started to break out, it came back under. A little bit of a fake out. What's the RSI saying? Is the RSI showing some bullish divergence on the weekly? So here, that's just bearish. Yeah, here it's at an important level. If it gets under this yellow moving average line, I'd be curious to see when the RSI finishes its next dip. Is it higher? Is it lower? If it finishes up higher and the price is higher than its last low, that's what I'd be looking for. If the RSI is around here, higher than this dip, and the price is higher, okay? But if the RSI dips lower, and even with the price higher, I would not be excited about that, because then that would be, sorry about the cat feeder in the background, that would be bearish divergence then, if your RSI is getting lower and the price is staying higher. So keep in mind that. Bonk's on Robinhood. Let's take a look at Bonk. Bonk to me is like this cycle's Shiba Inu. And look at that. All right, let's get rid of this RSI. Let's just take a look at the chart. Bonk going down. So it's holding the 100-day moving average. Might come down to the 786 200-day moving average. Got bought up really, really well on that 200-day, but it definitely wants to hold that 786. So discount territory for Bonk down here. But if it goes lower, than the 618, anywhere 618 or under, I'd say it'd be very strong territory. That'd be 4 zeros and 2 3. Ooh, we got another comment. Think MicroStrategy will close the gap to 280 or bounce off the trend line at 320. Let's take a look at MicroStrategy. Yeah, MicroStrategy is an interesting one because last cycle when it topped, when it had this mega blow off top, look when that was. That was right before alt season, February of 21. Now you can also see though, it had these 3 waves up, 1, 2, 3. Are we going to get something like that? This being the first wave, second wave, is there one more wave coming? So that'd be something to watch for. And as far as MicroStrategy, let's zoom way in here. Okay, got up to whatever, 4236 or something. This fib's up here. You can see here MicroStrategy honoring that 50-day moving average. You want to see that hold? That's right at around, and the fib, probably like the 2618, yep, at 321. 2618's at 321, the 50-day moving average right there. You want to see those hold. And you're asking about, or will it bounce off the trend line at 320? Yeah, we have this fib, and so far, so good with holding this. But then the gap down to 280. We'll also look where 280 is closer. It's close to this 100-day moving average. So, yeah, you definitely want to see that hold. Let's add on an indicator or two here. Stochastic RSI. It's possible. Now, on the daily, this looks okay. You know, it could flip positive, and that could be great. On the weekly, somewhat of a different story. Now, it doesn't mean that this is all bad. It could do one of these, okay? And then as it goes all the way down, just have a nice little correction that isn't too bad. So, yeah, I'm curious to see where this finishes, the stochastic RSI. But on the weekly, I'd be a little bit cautious. And another thing, on the weekly, I like to take a look at what are moving averages that a stock likes on the way up. MicroStrategy really loves the 20, occasionally the 50 on the weekly. Where's the 20? Right at around that 280 mark you talked about. And then if things got very bad, 200. And that's at the 1618 and the 50 moving average. So if you like MicroStrategy, that'd be the next big discount area. Gap is on the daily. Yeah, you definitely see that big gap there. Down to 280 here. So, you know, as far as Bitcoin's looking right now, I'm leaning a little bit bearish just because it seems there's more bearishness to come, possibly, even with stocks. But, yeah, take your bets. I'd say this is promising, though, that it's getting this nice little bounce here. So it is holding that 50-day moving average. But if it starts to keep testing, not just once, but if it starts to get under that 50 and test this, then I would start leaning towards that gap and down to 280 and this 100 moving average, personally speaking. I've been itching to sell puts, but don't want to own the shares. Maybe I'll wait for more downside. Yeah. I feel like as far as calls and puts and all that stuff, I don't like making any of those decisions when it feels 50-50. I want to have a good replicable strategy for that. I don't want to get in that too much here on this channel just because I'm trying to make this for more of the common investor. People are just spot buying and looking for discounts and stuff. But whatever your strategy is, my not financial advice would be, is it replicable? Is it hitting all those areas with whatever indicators you're using together to hit those marks and be like, you know what, now's a good time. If you're feeling 50-50 about it, which I am here personally, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, I would wait. I would wait for better confirmation. All right, let's get into some other altcoins. I know I have a subscriber that loves Doge, so we'll talk about Doge here for a bit. Doge, man. So let's back up a little bit. I talked about how something to consider is that last alt season in 2021, there were a number of altcoins that did really good in 2017, only got up to the 786 in 2021. So I said, Doge being the darling altcoin the last time, watch what happens at the 786. Will it get stuck there? So far, that's what happened. Yes, it got a little bit higher on the weekly, though. On the weekly, to prove my point, never really was closing above there. Okay, even wicked down to the 618. So Doge looking pretty bearish right now. It's got under the moving average. Okay, you can see this. Look at that wick though, how it just tagged that. People, this is why fibs are great. And if you don't know what fibs are, there's videos out there, but it's basically the Fibonacci sequence is basically the golden ratio in an indicator. And the golden ratio is found in nature everywhere, whether with rivers, leaves, veins, all that stuff. So the next area for Doge, I'd say it's looking pretty weak. Could come down to this 26 area, 26 cents. And then you see this big area down here. Now the 200-day moving average, and we do have that wick here, Doge might get down into the low 20s if crypto is going to be kind of bearish for the next few weeks. And again, we talked about this with the buy-sell signal indicator. Make sure this is on. The buy-sell signal indicator, when this flashes on the weekly, we typically see it for a few weeks. 2 to 5 weeks would be the average. You see here 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever. We might get 3-4 weeks of red candles. And if that happens, then do not be surprised to see Doge down into the 20 cent areas. What other altcoins can we look at? I looked at Chainlink, AVAX. I've had people ask about that before. I almost said X. People ask me about it. AVAX. Woo boy. So big sell signal there. Let's put our fib back on log. And thankfully, it's holding at the 0.5. But if it starts to lose that, we have all these moving averages here, the 382 and this trend line here at about 20 in the high 20s. So if you really like AVAX, I would not blame you if you dollar cost average in here. But if it gets down into the 30 area or high 20s, say it's really good value down there for AVAX. Let's look at Pepe as well. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's like, when you say it out loud, like we're putting hundreds or thousands of dollars into a frickin' frog meme. Like it makes zero sense. But we're doing it because we're hoping to get it at a lower value to sell it at a higher value. And that's all crypto is right now. Every time we get mega bullish, people talk about, oh, crypto is going to replace Swift and it's going to be a part of your daily lives. I heard the same crap in 2017, 2021. So there's some cryptos I've researched, like Chainlink. They sound great to me. Okay. But I also try to take that with a grain of salt and be like, what problem is this fixing? And when a common person tries to transfer crypto and one little error can make them lose it all, I don't see the everyday person adopting crypto into their lives and it doing all these things anytime soon. Down the road, sure, especially with inflation and stuff, I think crypto becomes more attractive. But yeah, it's still when we have stuff like Pepe worth $7 billion, a useless, stupid frog meme, then you know we're still in the stupid times as far as investing into this stuff. All right. We draw a fib from the low to the high. Pepe could come down to this 236 if it were to continue being bearish. I swear there's got to be a better Pepe chart than this. Is that the best one we got? I guess so. So we'll just go back to the other one. Maybe it is just that new. But yeah, here's also the fibs. You would want to see the 382. This would be deeper value if it gets below the 382 or even the 0.5. Oh boy. But if Pepe gets down any of these fibs, I think these fibs would be good price targets to look for if you're a believer in the stupid frog. Alpha Perez, can you take a look at Fetch? Yes, Fetch. If it has AI in the name, you know it's going to do great. I saw an amazing meme. If you've seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street and the whole thing about sell me this pen, and the meme shows a guy holding the pen and it says it's AI powered. I thought that was hilarious. All right, Fetch. Where is Fetch? Usually it's been somewhere around here. Here, number 43. So it's fallen down a bit. Could have sworn it was in the 30s not too long ago. So $3 billion market cap, worth $1.26 right now. And it is holding support around its former all-time high, at least when we go back to 2021. It's holding that trend line, and it has been bouncing nicely off this 100-week moving average. It likes the 50-week and the 100-week. So if this was a stock that I loved, I'd say, okay, good value here. I'll DCA a little. But if we were to get more bearish, a nice deep value area would be the 786 at around 61.60. Let's also add in the 888. That's a good one to look for. Sometimes we can see. I got to really make sure that I'm remembering to do this. There we go. The 888, you can see when it had its last dip, had a nice bounce off of that. It's funny how these fibs constantly show up. So right here, decent dollar cost average territory, deeper value here at around 85 cents. Look at how much that was bought up and a good buy signal there. But we do have a lower high, do have a higher low. So we're forming a wedge pattern. I can see this, but it's good to draw it out for y'all. Because when these wedges break one way or the other, it can be very violent. So whether up or down. So yeah, if you love Fetch, I wouldn't miss this opportunity. But if it does break underneath this trend line and that moving average, these would be my next areas. And there's ways to look for confirmation. Obviously, we have the buy signals on this indicator right here. And we also have the stochastic RSI when it's flipping positive on the weekly. Right now, that's looking pretty bad. So when this finishes and starts to round up, where is the price going to be? Is it going to be just around this area when the stock RSI finishes bottoming? If so, great. That 100-week moving average, that higher low trend line, I'd say would be looking really good. But still, this continuing to fall off, I'd be just a little cautious about it. You can see here on the daily, yeah, even if it were to get bullish, what's it going to do off these moving averages? Is it going to get rejected and come down here to a $1.20? So I like that $1.20 area as a good DCA. This whole area, I think, we're pinching pennies, if you will, if you believe in Fetch long term. If you believe in Fetch as a great altcoin, there's a couple of ways to look at price targets. Okay, we can look at the fibs. We can add on a lot more fibs, by the way. If you're like, I know, this is you talking, not me. I know it's going to go higher than $5. And you can go on your fibs and you can add in way more. You can add in a 19. We can add in a 9618 or whatever. You can take a look at any of these and be like, you know what? I know Fetch can be $11, that it can 10x from here. And again, if it can 10x, that's you saying you believe its market cap can be worth $33 billion. Now, for a lot of these altcoins, whether it's Fetch or any of these top 50, top 100 altcoins that are in this $1 to $3 billion market cap range, hell, even $1 to $4 billion, why not? I compare these to Bitcoin miners, and we'll get into miners in a second here. The best Bitcoin miners last cycle around got between 20 to 30 billion. We add inflation, our dollar's worth 20% less. Each cycle, the market caps for the chosen altcoins go up a bit more. So if we were 20 to 30 billion last cycle, my new target for market cap is between 25 to 50 billion for the average altcoin. And so for something around 3 billion, 10x falls in that range. So do you believe Fetch can be worth 1126 and get up here around this 9618 fib? I'm just sharing with you how I think and approach buying and taking profits here. Not saying that's what you have to do, but that's what I'd be taking a look at. ICP, let's take a look at Internet Computer. Let's fix this chart. Oh boy. So ICP, if it loses these moving averages, look for the 236 again. If Internet Computer gets around 770, don't want to miss that area if that's an altcoin you like. But right now it's holding these moving averages, but if it breaks under, which it has before, something to look for. Jasmy, I've had some Jasmy fans here. Look at the most recent bullish move when people are like, this is it, alt season is coming in 1 month, and all of a sudden we get a correction, which is standard. We're going to keep getting these until true alt season. Let me go back to, where is it? We're going to keep getting these corrections on the way up. 20% give or take is this cycle. Last cycle, it doesn't show in here, but 30% was the average correction. There were like 30% corrections, obviously, COVID notwithstanding. 2017, 40%. So look at that. There's a pattern. 40% corrections, 2017, 30% corrections, 2021, 20% corrections. We're going to keep getting 20% corrections until it's a true alt season. And then at the end, that's when you see these altcoins explode. So we're going to keep seeing stuff like this and then little bits of correction. It happened before with Jasmy. Okay, it did something like a 10x or so, got up to almost 3 cents when it was about a third of a penny or 40% of a penny. So it did close to a 10x. Then it went a little higher, then it corrected. Then it went up to the next fib, and then it's correcting. So if you like Jasmy, buying here at the 0.5 fib or these moving averages, don't hate it. But if it comes back down again, man, wouldn't that suck? That it keeps coming down to the 382. But if it's an altcoin you believe in, then hey, here are the values. That's why we look at moving averages and fibs. And then if you're waiting for confirmation, we take a look at the stochastic RSI and the buy-sell signals. So I hope you guys are taking, again, I try to answer a question, is now a good time to buy? Every video. And this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for values at the fibs and the moving averages. And then I'm looking for confirmation in the buy-sell signals and the stochastic RSI. I try to keep my plan simple, replicable, understandable. Because if it's not, then what good is it? District OX, altcoin all the way back from 2017. And this one, it's got to hold its moving averages. Otherwise, it could come down to the 236. If it did, I might put in more. This one's on Coinbase. Let's take a look at mining stocks. And if you have any requests, we have 12 people in the chat. If you have any requests for any mining stocks, I'm going to take a look at a bunch of them, or altcoins that are on Coinbase or Robinhood, let me know. I'll take a look at it for you. Thank you all for being here on a Friday. Hope your Fridays are going well. As far as Marathon Digital Holdings, oh boy, look at all these red candles. However, again, what has it done this cycle? After it gets these big sell-offs, where does it get support? Around the moving averages and the 0.5 fib. We're getting to the moving averages, kind of close to the 0.5 fib, but we also have this trend line. So I think we're in a lot of these altcoins, a lot of these mining stocks. I think we're getting into decent value. Okay, here's a lower low trend line. If it, all of a sudden we're break down underneath this one up here, okay, we could take a look at that. 0.5 around 16. Decent value, but we're waiting on a turnaround. Do we have a turnaround? Well, I know we don't have a buy signal. What's the stochastic? Stochastic still has a ways to go. Okay. I'll throw on other indicators here too. Ultimate RSI, what's the ultimate RSI at? Okay. A little bit bullish, but maybe it'll come down a little bit further before being a buy. Let's take a look at, let's see, BitDeer doing great out of nowhere. This one had a huge move. I already forgot the ticker, BTDR. BitDeer stuck at the 1618. If you got BitDeer anywhere around these areas, I would not blame you for taking profits. Look at the candle body getting right up to the 1618. Look at these strong wicks above it. Okay, not saying it can't go higher, but if you were getting BitDeer at around $5-6 to $7, and all of a sudden it did a 4x, and just the way the rest of the market is looking, maybe worth thinking about. Again, not saying it can't go higher. And if you're like, you know what, you were just talking about altcoins and miners getting to $20 to $30 billion or 20 to 50 billion, you can wait for that. You can ride it out. But if you believe that we might see a little bit of a correction, you could always take some profits, buy back in on the dip if it gets there. All depends what your plan is. Let's take a look at Cores. Core Scientific. Let me get into this again. I'll do it for these two stocks. I'll do it for Cores and Riot. So Core Scientific, this is why I like mining stocks, by the way. We can look at their balance sheets. Okay. It was the number 2 mining stock at around 4 billion, fell down to number 3 because BitDeer went stupid parabolic. But something with Cores, and it's already up. So Market Watch, you can take a look at financials, balance sheet for any stock. And the assets, look at this, around 100 million. Total assets, 700 million. Look at the liabilities, 5 times higher, 500 million. Total liabilities, about 2 times higher. And so that is a bad ratio. That is not good. I do not like stocks that have a negative ratio. And then let's go over to Riot. You take a look at Riot, and this is just one way of looking at it. If you've done your research and Cores looks great, and you're like, you know what? I know it's a negative ratio, but the research I've done is fantastic. And then, hey, you're getting in at a very good discounted territory. But that's not the way I do it. Maybe it's the way you do it. That's not the way I do it. Financials, balance sheet. Where we have Riot, that is a little bit less. Okay, just a little bit. But then take a look at Riot. Total assets, 1 billion. Total current. Total assets, 2 billion. So 1 and 2 billion. Total current liabilities, it's about 9 times less. Total liabilities, about 8 times less. That is an amazing ratio for a stock. And there's many more details we can get into here. Okay, cores, you can say, you know what, I love cores. Cool. It's at the 20-week moving average. Have fun. We take a look at Riot, which has a much better balance sheet. It's at the 382. It's at these moving averages. Still in its channel. Decent value here. Okay. And we have the competitive advantage of this chart being around for a while. Look at these peaks the last couple cycles. And if that continues, this is something I think about. One reason I like Riot. Not that you should only buy a stock or a crypto just off charting. But we have that 1618 at about 126, 2618, 200. And look at this trend line. It's right in between there. Around, let's just say 150. Can Riot do a 10x or more? I think there's a lot to argue positively for Riot. I hope that happens. I hope that happens for Riot. So that's just something I think about for Riot. Let's zoom in here. But as far as right now, would I dollar cost average in here? Hell yeah. But if it gets lower, then I'll be dollar cost averaging in more. Any stock or altcoin I put money into, if I am dollar cost averaging in right now, here at this fib and moving average, maybe I'm not waiting for confirmation on the buy signals or the stochastic RSI. Maybe I'm buying in right now. If it goes lower, I need to be excited, not disheartened. Oh, the market's not going the way I want. Guys, that's going to happen. You're going to buy in sometimes and see things go lower. The question is, are you going to buy more when it goes lower? If not, you shouldn't be buying in up here, in my opinion. Yes, you can have a stop loss, depending if you're more of a trader. But if I like a stock long term, if I believe in alt season, which is what I do believe in, I'm happy buying in it here, and I'm loving buying in down here. Turbo and Drift Protocol, please and thank you. We'll see. Thanks for being here. Let's take a look at Turbo. I've been hearing more about Turbo recently. Turbo. Do we take a look at the Binance? Usually the Binance charts are a little bigger. Is this a newer one? Let's take a look at Coinbase. Just want to make sure. Nope, don't want to do that one. So maybe it was on Binance. This is a newer altcoin, isn't it? All right, Turbo. We're going to have to zoom in here on the daily. Okay, this guy's a baby. Okay, you can see where it came out. I'm not going to draw a fib from here, but I'll do it from the next candle. It's right in the middle of that doji anyways. So let's try to get this as close as we can. Turbo, from the recent low to the high, came down all the way to the 0.5. Had a nice little bounce. Okay, so this 0.5 to 382 area, good discount areas if you draw your fibs low to high. Okay, did have that correction. You can see the moving averages here on the daily. Did get rejected off the 236, and so it is possible it comes down to the 382 again. That 00878 area would be a decent area to look for another entry on Turbo. Not the best looking candle here. You can see how strong that rejects off of it. Let's take a look at, let's add on some RSIs, see what we got. Okay, to me this RSI can still go a little bit lower. Let's do the stock RSI. Yeah, you can see the blue. Now here, okay, this is tricky. Is it just curling over? Because you can see it's starting to curl. And if so, you can see Turbo come back down. But sometimes it curls into it and goes further up. Okay, that's on the daily. I would have liked Turbo down here, personally, when the stochastic RSI is flipping positive. And by the way, I'd rather look at the stochastic RSI on the weekly, but down here was a much better time. Here in the middle, can go one way or the other. So, yeah, if you're willing to be patient, I do like Turbo around these areas. And look at this. We have the 100-day moving average here at around 0084. Where is this? So anywhere 008s to 0093, I'd say are better value areas. And if you feel like you're pinching pennies there and you would buy now, then buy now. As far as its market cap, what is Turbo's market cap? This is another way to look at price targets. Turbo. It is the number 132 crypto, market cap of 650 million. So if you believe this altcoin will do really well, 10x or so, you're talking 5 to 6 billion. Do you believe that can happen? And ask yourself, what do you like about Turbo compared to other altcoins? Does it have a community? Is it being shilled quite a bit on X and all those places? Okay. Now, the time to get in after it had this big move up, you could have waited for the 0.5. Okay. Let's take this fib down. Even after this peak, look at that, 0.5. Hit it again and again. Okay. Hit a new peak. Came down to its 0.5. Is it going to come down again and again? So me personally, I would be patient. I'm not saying it's going to come down here, but I would be patient for this area. 0075 to 0087. And then Drift Protocol. I don't think I've heard of Drift Protocol. I hope this is it. Yep. Drift Protocol. All right. What do we got here? What do we got here for Drift? I want to take a look at this from the perspective of a couple fibs here. So if we draw from that high to low, you can see it recently came out to that 1618. Interesting. If we draw from this high to low, what do we got? Got up to the 2618. You see that big wick there, and boom, sold off back to the 1618 area. I think this fib kind of tells a better story than the previous one. But it did, it was holding the 1618 in the moving average, the 50-day, and it did get under to the 100. Okay. What you do like here is this candle, whenever you see a big wick underneath it or above, that tends to show that there's good buy pressure here at that area, the 1618. And so it is possible. It is trying to get support from a bottom here. We do have the convergence of the 50-day moving average and the 1618. Here shows its market cap. Sweet. It's $1/3 billion. Okay. So if you're looking at a 10x, you're looking at $3 billion. If Drift Protocol is something you like. Now, if that recent sell-off that does concern me a little bit, if this was to turn bearish and get underneath the 100, now the 100, I'd say 100-day moving average, good area to buy in, and people did. But if it got under that, the 200-day, this would be most bearish scenario. The former all-time high in the 200-day here at around 78 cents. But if you're buying in here and you believe in Drift Protocol that it's going to do well during alt season, I don't hate the value here. Kind of think it's not bad. Let's take a look at these. All right. That could be something to be concerned about. Stochastic RSI is flipping negative on the daily. But again, the alternative to that is, some people wait for confirmation for it to get in the gray area. It can stay up here and the price rip higher. That does happen, but just be cautious here. If you don't want confirmation and you like the value here, great. But if that stochastic RSI plays out and it goes lower, then where are your areas to buy if it does? And for me, I would be looking at these areas of around $1.04 and around 78 cents. So if you're like, damn confirmation, I like the value here, that's fine. But then you have to be willing to buy in more, in my opinion, if it's down at those levels. All right, let's get back into miners. Thanks for the request. Happy to do them for you guys. Did we take a look at CleanSpark yet? I don't think so. We'll go over CleanSpark. And if there's any other indicators or charts you want me to take a look at during these live streams, let me know. I just like taking a look across the markets at different large altcoins and miners. And sometimes as I talk about these, maybe we find one with good value, like CleanSpark. Oh my God. So take a look at this trend line. Is it the most perfect, beautiful trend line? No. But you can't deny it's getting underneath it a little bit. Now we look horizontally now when we're not looking diagonally. And CleanSpark's at a deeper value area, but it could come down to the 0.5 again. So if CleanSpark comes down to the 0.5, that'd be an area to look for. I'm sure the stochastic RSI looks very oversold right now. On the daily, oh yeah. Sometimes you already know what it's going to look like before even pulling up the chart. How about the weekly? Weekly shows it could have further to go. So hopefully as this bottoms out, we can see it hang around the 0.5 at 870. So if you like CleanSpark, could be worth waiting to be patient down there. But maybe it stays up here. And if it stays up here, where's the stochastic RSI going to bottom out at? Here. So some of these I'm willing to be patient on for right now. TeraWolf, I know there's a few people that comment Wolfgang or Wolf Army in the comments. TeraWolf getting a little bit further down on the stochastic RSI. Got above the 200, which is good. And look at this. So we had this little bit of a positive cross here. A golden cross is the 50 above the 200. What do they call the cross 50 above the 100? Silver cross? I don't know. But this big candle right now holding at the 20-week moving average. But look at these down here. If we get a golden cross sometime soon, that could be a big catalyst for TeraWolf. So you can see here when it had this cross, it was finishing this big move from the 0.5, $5 to $8. So I would be willing to be patient for Wolf down in this area around the 0.5 at 481 personally. Some of these are just looking kind of bearish right now. Cypher, that's a mining stock I like. After I go through a few more miners, I'll get back into some large cap altcoins. Cypher is still in its channel, getting support off the 200-week moving average. But if it gets to the lower end of this channel, the 618 fib breaks under the moving averages, the big discount territory, low to the whole $3 area. But you'd be looking to see if these moving averages can hold up here. And then we'll finish with Bitfarms, BitDigital. I'll get back into altcoins. BitDigital, slowly losing those moving averages. The big value, big discount area here at the 382, 253. If you're willing to be patient, I'd say dollar cost averaging in here. Don't hate it. I'd say that's fair. That's decent. Here, that'd be juicy. Be juicy getting BitDigital here at 250. And then Bitfarms. What do we got? We're looking horizontally. You can see there's some support horizontally. So don't hate it here, but if it gets back down to the 382, you'd want to see support at $1.33. All right, let's get back into altcoins. Let's take a look at some of the larger cap altcoins. XRP, how's XRP doing? Kind of just talked about it, but glanced over it. So XRP, right there, it is holding up just above its former all-time high here. I'm curious from the prior cycle. Nothing really there. XRP holding up so far. Does have a doji, means undecided on the weekly. Yeah, you can see here, boom, losing the 20, boom. So what's it going to do at the former all-time high from the 21 cycle and the 50-day moving average? If it breaks under there, then you're looking at the 100 and the 786. Okay. So XRP, I would not be buying it here, but I'm curious if any of you people bought XRP down here at around 50 to 60 cents. Did you sell any up here? And again, consider market cap. At its peak at around $124 billion, probably it was around $130 billion or so. How much higher is it going to go? Do you believe it'll 2x from there? Or do you have other altcoins that you believe can do a lot better? Again, you can take profits, rotate. Do know that each time you rotate, though, in the smaller caps, it becomes more risky. And you're waiting for that alt season. And you want to be patient with your rotation. Maybe sell, wait a few weeks or a month so that money isn't burning a hole in your pocket. Cardano, we haven't talked about that one in a bit. Let's take a look at Cardano. Cardano holding the 50-day moving average. Look at this. You can see a strong wick buy on the 0.5. So don't hate Cardano here, but it may come back down to the 0.5. Good support here with the price action and this fib. Let's see. Let's go back to Chainlink. I know some of you rewatch this, or maybe you joined in later. We do have Chainlink fans. Chainlink, and let's drag this fib out a little. There we go. So Chainlink, we're looking for support to hold at the 618 and the 50-day moving average here at around 21. But if it gets lower, whenever I look at these moving averages, I start looking left. Is there price action support, and is there moving average support? Is there volume support? Where's some of this volume support? There's this big purple band over here, right around the 100. Okay, and obviously the 0.5. All this makes sense here. Think if Link gets back down to 16, I would not hate buying it there. But we might see some support back here. This indicator, by the way, volume. Let's take a look at it over here. Volume-based support and resistance zones by Tommy F1001. It's a good indicator. Try to share everything I use with you guys. You can take or leave whatever. Link. If you have any other altcoin requests, comment below. Someone asked about SWI last time. $12 billion market cap, $13 billion. So overall, I don't know if it's just you guys or if it's just me, but as far as how I see the crypto space acting right now, it's leading me to believe that there could be some further bearishness in the short term, but then it could pick back up. Okay. Let's draw a fib from the high to the low, from the most recent. Is that? I didn't get quite to the 1618, but it could get up there. That's at around 562. SWI looking very strong right now. My God. Came down to that 50-day moving average. Keeps moving. But you don't have to... Oh, look at that. Yeah, 560, give or take. You don't have to wait exactly for the fib. If you got any of this down here, it's already moved up pretty good. Next, let's take a look at... We have not taken a look at DOT in a while, or stellar lumens. Let's do that. I'm sure some of these ran because there's a lot of old altcoins running recently. Oh yeah, look at that. Stellar lumens getting all the way up to near its former all-time high, but not quite. Got up to the 888. That's this fib right here. Add it to your fibs. The 888. It's pretty good. Then, of course, there's the golden ratio, the 618, I think, to the 0.65. And that's where it is right now in the golden pocket. Not golden ratio. So, could be some good area for support in here. For stellar lumens, what a move. How much did it move up there? 500, 600%. Crazy. And the other one I was talking about, DOT. Polkadot, dot tether. I think this is the one I've charted. Yay. So you can see I haven't charted it in a hot minute. Let's make sure we get this exact. All right. Dot coming back down to the 236. So if you like dot, not bad. But even after that last big move, okay, was not able to make a newer local high or get up to the 0.5. And it's come back down to the 236. Could it come back down to these lows and do another 50% correction? If you like dot, don't hate this area for dollar cost averaging, but it could go lower. Let's keep going down the list here. Bitcoin Cash, I'm curious about that one. It's kind of funny to me, like when you think about some of the altcoins that get talked about the most or that are making the waves on Twitter, X, it's not a lot of the old ones. And it's curious that some of the older ones have popped off recently a little bit. Bitcoin Cash. This one's always a little bit tricky to find the best chart. All right. So Bitcoin Cash, this was one I talked about where it only got up to its 786 from the 2017 bull run. There's another chart out there. Which one is it? There's another chart out there where I can show you this. I'm not going to spend forever looking for it though. Bitcoin Cash. Maybe it's, here we go. So what's the Coinbase one? All right. So perfect example. Draw a fib from the low, from the high to the low. The next cycle, it only got up to the 786. Not even quite there. So again, keep that in mind for any of the 2021 altcoins that did well. It may be worth taking some profits at the 786 in case you don't see new highs. Here is another thing I looked at. If we zoom way out, you can see these peaks getting lower, getting lower. Is it ever going to break above and form a new uptrend? So XRP, you guys who have been subscribed heard me say it. XRP's got to show me something. For right now, is it going to get above its 786? It's got to show me something. Recently, XRP did that. Broke above that downtrend. Can Bitcoin Cash do the same? Can it break above that trend line? If so, that would be pretty good for Bitcoin Cash. But right now, just running into the 618, not quite getting to the 786. Remember, that's what happened in the last cycle around. Are we seeing a repeat of history? Maybe worth considering for some of these altcoins. All right, let's take a look at Litecoin. We haven't talked about Litecoin in a while. Whoop. Litecoin. All right. What are we doing here? So this would be another topping area to watch for, this trend line from the tops. And well, let's go over to the weekly. From the tops in 2017 and 2021, see, it didn't really get higher. Will Litecoin get back up to that price? Now, maybe you're asking yourself or saying to yourself, you know what? I only need a 2x. Is Litecoin a safe play? Do your research. What is disheartening to me, I will say, is that recently, I want to say it's a month or two ago, Litecoin put out some posts. They're saying we now identify har as a meme coin. I'm like, what the hell? Like, if anything, you've lost credibility with me. Because Litecoin, you know, they say all these positive things about what it's going to do compared to Ethereum or Bitcoin. And then the people running the project are saying, we're just a meme coin now. So to me, I take it even less seriously than I already was before. But maybe they're trying to get some of that meme coin money, get people to gamble on it more. So I'm not touching Litecoin. Just don't love what they're saying. But as far as, let's just chart the sucker. Whether we like it or not, we want to take an honest look at the charts. It's at the 618, getting rejected, coming down to the 0.5. With this trend of these bottoms, I would not be surprised to see it come back down to the 3.2 at around $70. But yeah, Litecoin, didn't love that. I don't think that was the smartest thing. Near protocol. There's a lot of people that like near that I've talked to. Is near at good value. So you can get rid of that trend line here. So near, it is at the moving averages, may come down to that fib. You can put in a buy order on Robinhood, or sorry, Coinbase. Get it at around 447 if you believe it's going to get down there again. But look what happened last time. It was getting near that area, and it got bought up. That wick got bought up. So you could also take a look at some of these moving averages. Maybe 480. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't have to get the 0.5 exactly at 447. Maybe I can get at 480. I'm pinching pennies. I believe in near protocol. All right, don't blame me there. If you want to get it at a little bit higher. We looked at internet computer. VeChain, we had a request for that one last time. VeChain. I'll probably be wrapping it up here in a little bit. So again, if you have any requests for certain altcoins or stocks, I'd be happy to take a look at those for you. This thing was bought right off the 382. As soon as it got there, man, it was bought up hard. And now it's holding the 50-day. So wouldn't hate buying some here, but if it does break down, it's the next area discount to look at. That 382 at around 4.2, 4.3 cents. Monero. Trying to look. IMX. I've not looked at that one in a while. People were talking about IMX a year or two ago, saying that could be one of the next big altcoins. And where's IMX? It's at the, well, our fib's off a log, so let's fix that. All right, it's at the 0.5. So don't hate IMX here. Does it have a weekly moving average? No. So decent value here for IMX. Peak back here in March 23. So if you like IMX, decent value. But again, you can take a look for strength, at least on the stochastic RSI, for it to get a turnaround. You could look for something like that. Anything else I want to talk about here before moving on? Let's see. I think just to recap, something we talked about before is I tried to share with you a couple scenarios for alt season. Alt season, as soon as it could happen, I'd be taking a look for Bitcoin to get above the 1618 fib and moving towards, we'll go from the November 21 high here. It's not going to be a perfect fib, whatever. Moving towards the 2618. The 2618 at around, we have to take our fib off log now. The 2618 at around 155K. All right. On the weekly, we didn't have candle bodies getting above the 1618. May correct for a little bit, but whenever this happens, whether it's in weeks or months from now, that could possibly be the last leg up for the bull run where we get close to alt season. The 1618 was here. We ran into resistance. The 2618, 155K. That's give or take where I believe the top to be. Rainbow chart kind of confirms that. We have these diminished returns. The orange band right at around 155K. Okay. We also showed the indicator that I forgot I saved, the logarithmic regression. We have to erase the fib now. That there's still room to run here. Now, the last couple cycles didn't always hit the very top, either got to that middle band or a little bit above it. And right now, that is at around 127 to 180K. So 155K is at the higher end. Something to keep in mind. So 127K on higher, that's when you're looking for alt season and at the top. We're not far from there, but if we do have a correction, I think something to consider is, well, a couple things. One, this. Inaugurations, on average, tend to be a little bit bearish, sideways. But again, that fits the 4-year cycle narrative. And that fits the 4-year cycle narrative. Later in 2017, the top was later in 21. Yes, we had alt season here, but what else did we have? We had trillions of dollars being printed out of thin air after COVID, while we had record low rates. So of course that's going to give us an early bull market. I think without that money printing, maybe we would have seen alt season here again. So maybe Bitcoin's just getting back on track, and we're going to see a later alt season 2025. Could be. And as far as Bitcoin dominance is concerned, we're looking for that. Let's get rid of this indicator, screwing everything up. As far as Bitcoin dominance, we're looking for that rotation. 58% of money's in Bitcoin, that's in crypto. We're looking for that to rotate to the altcoins. As I've shown you, that happens over the course of a month. And your altcoin, it might peak earlier, it might peak later in that rotation. So do have price targets picked out, whether on based off fibs or market caps, whatever. Do have your price targets now, because once we are hitting that orange band, that 127 to 155K at the 2618, that's when it's probably going to be go time. And something to consider is Bitcoin dominance peaked September 2019. It took 600 days to get to alt season from the peak. And if we did just peak here, might it be 600 days? Might it be a little bit less? Might it be half a year from now? Okay. Something to consider, because in order to have a good, strong alt season, we need Ethereum to start running. Did Ethereum Bitcoin pairing just bottom? Now, what I will say is that you see the depth Ethereum Bitcoin got to last time. Okay, it was all the way down here. It had to move quite a bit from the bottom. Took about 600 days, moved about 400%. Okay, 400%, 600 days. Well, if that was the bottom recently for Ethereum Bitcoin, doesn't have to move 400%. It only has to move maybe even less than half. So why not 150% in 300 days? Okay, that'd be around September 2025. Give or take, falls in the 4-year cycle narrative. But that's how my brain thinks. If we took all this time, okay, 400%, 600 days, if we only have to move half the amount, why can't it be give or take around half the amount of time? Whether September, July, November, I don't care. But Ethereum, we're talking about if Bitcoin's up near those 127 to 150K areas, what would Ethereum at 0.5, half the market cap be? It'd be between 1 to 1.5 trillion. 1 to 1.5 trillion for Ethereum would be about, you see right here, it's about a third of a trillion at 400 billion. So we're talking Ethereum getting to 10K to 12K. And we showed 10K to 12K. This is at its peak. That's where the 2618 is at 11,300. So that's when Ethereum's getting up here. That's when I'm looking for alt season. But right now, Ethereum, it's got to show me something. Okay? It's testing this trend line, testing the 786. It's got to show me something. Until we see Ethereum Bitcoin start to get above these moving averages, it's possible it could go lower. Now, we did recently make a higher low. Okay. Can Ethereum start to get above these moving averages? I'd rather take a look at the weekly, but you can see it's extended from the weekly. Okay. On the way down, it has challenged the 50-week moving average. So I want to see Ethereum get above that 50-week moving average. I'm looking for that at minimum. Otherwise, This could take longer. And we talked about this at length in my stock video earlier today. If we are to get an inflation spike earlier than later, then this whole cycle alt season could be delayed a little bit, a year or so. If 2025 is when markets correct, recession hits, inflation spikes, then it is possible we see the peak for altcoins or alt season in Bitcoin further down the road. So I don't care when alt season happens. I'm putting my money where my mouth is that alt season is going to happen, but I don't care when it happens. It can happen in a few months. It can be a 4-year cycle. We could get an inflation recession, and alt season can happen 2 years from now. I don't care. I hope you guys are picking up on what my strategy is. And predictions don't mean crap compared to strategy. So many YouTubers in crypto are obsessed with predictions. It's going to happen this time. It's going to happen that time. Guys, I can show you a dozen different narratives of when it's going to happen. If you take a look at in the past when Bitcoin has broken or made new all-time highs, it's usually 300 days till the next peak. Well, that's the end of this year. Okay? Is that the peak? How about we take the average from the bottom to the next peak? Well, if you take the average from every cycle, bottom to next peak, that puts us out in March. Okay? Some people are saying alt season in March. Cool. If you take the average from every halving to the next peak, that puts us out in August. Showed you the Bitcoin dominance timing, the Ethereum Bitcoin timing. There's a ton of narratives out there. I think we have to let the data inform our decisions, and we have to be flexible. Bitcoin, because of its cyclical nature, I think it lulls us to sleep and our brain likes looking for correlation. It likes looking for patterns. Good scientists know, and I learned this when I got my master's in the field of psychology, correlation does not equal causation. You need data as a good research scientist. If you have a hypothesis, and my hypothesis is 155K Bitcoin, that's my hypothesis. I need to replicate through various data methods how to get there. And that's what I'm trying to show you guys, whether through rainbow chart, whether through fibs, other indicators. That's what I'm trying to replicate to back up my theory, my hypothesis. I don't care when it happens. I think when or repeating fractals is a bad way to go, in my opinion. I care about my strategy because each time is a little different. There's different variables every cycle. How is your strategy going to handle those differences? That's what I try to show in these videos. What am I looking for? Based on fibs, based on moving averages, am I waiting for confirmation? That to me is way more important. And then when we finally get blessed with an alt season, which happens during the course of a month, and when your altcoin runs, you get a week or two to withdraw at those crazy profits. When that happens, when you survive all these corrections, are you going to be ready? And we might still have another couple 20% corrections. I don't care. My strategy helps me buy those corrections. And part of that strategy is me believing in an alt season and saying, you know what, bring on the corrections. Whether alt season is in 2 months, a year, 2 years, bring on those corrections. I will buy them up. And if there is another alt season, which I believe there will be, okay, no guarantees, but I believe we will get another one when Bitcoin dominance rotates. That is when my strategy will pay off. God, I hope so. All right. I think that'll do it. Will, thanks a lot. Mark, really appreciate you. My name's not Mark, but maybe you're just shortening it for market psychology. I appreciate you, Will. Thanks for being here. Crispy, how does MSTR look to you? When is a good time to pick it up? We talked about MSTR earlier, but we'll take a look again. And then we'll close out with this. All right, MSTR looks extended to me, personally. So just when I take a look at a stock and I take a look at it in the last year, are you buying it within the range of the yearly lows or the yearly highs? Okay. Obviously the yearly highs. So you're buying at a premium. You're not buying at a discount. But even at a premium, okay, let's throw bias aside. It got up to the highest fib that it has on the fib extensions. We can add in more fibs, take a look at it in different ways. But right now it's getting support at the 50-day and the moving average here, or sorry, the fib at the 2618, I believe. I have to go out to the weekly. The 2618 at 320. Yep. So the 50-day moving average and the 2618, it's showing support. But I mean, just take a look at this. When was it down in the 30s? A year ago? So within a year, this is just something for you to think about. Within a year, when these moving averages were turning positive, it ran 1,600%. I am not buying something that ran 1,600% in the last year. That's me speaking. That's not you. But maybe you believe this can go higher. Maybe you're like, you know what, Mr. Market Psychologist YouTube guy, you don't know shit. Last cycle, it had these 3 big waves up. Last cycle, look at this. 1 big wave, 2 big waves, 3 big waves. Last cycle, I'm just going to go from the average here. It ran 800%. And it's already done more than that. It's already done 1,600%. Consider that. Last cycle, the strength of the move was half of what it just did. But maybe you believe in a third wave, and there's one more wave up. You could buy it here. You could. Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? If you're willing to be a little more patient, you have this 270 area. We had a trader in here talking about the gap down at 280. The 270 to 280 area, that's not how I buy. I would be looking at the 1618 down here. But this is me speaking, not you. I'm not buying MicroStrategy right now. I think could it go up higher? Yes. It could go up to, I don't know, 500, 600, whatever. It might get up there. It might do a 2x from here. But I see across the market a lot more safer plays than MicroStrategy. I think there's no denying it's extended. Could it go higher? Yes. But to me, too much of a gamble right now. Now, if it did get down to the 1618 and we didn't have alt season yet, and Bitcoin still did not get above the 1618 at 100K, if MicroStrategy came back down there, I'd be like, okay, I would pick some up at the low 200s. Why not? Hoping for a 2 to 3x from there. But that would require a lot of patience, and I don't think a lot of people have patience right now, especially considering the crypto cycle. The friends and family I've talked to who have brought up crypto on their own, but they know I'm into it, their emotions, the way they talk about it, they are chasing the market. And you want to be careful. Have a plan, write down a strategy. Where are you getting discounts? Where are you buying? So you're not chasing. I don't want you to be chasing. So when is it a good time to pick it up? I'm going to do an if this then statement. If Bitcoin is still below the 1618 and we have a correction and it gets down and MSTR gets down to 200-ish, I'd say that's when, if this then, it would be a decent time to pick it up. But God, charts like this make me freaking nervous. Personally, I would not consider buying MicroStrategy, this is me speaking, till the next market cycle bottom. I mean, look where it returned to. All the way back down here at 14. And the thing I got to laugh at, just Michael Saylor, that guy's so memeable. And I'm sure the strategies for buying and selling for hedge funds and all that is way different than for us peasants who invest hundreds and thousands of dollars. But he talks about buying so much up here Like, why are you buying the top, dude? That just seems like bad business. Why weren't you tooting your horn and buying a ton down here when there was crazier value? Why weren't you, if you were a big believer in it, why weren't you backing up the truck down here? I don't know. That's how my mind thinks. I think guys like Michael Saylor, Kiyosaki, all those dudes, they push a narrative and they believe they want retail to keep buying the bags that they are selling at the top. Because I got rid of the chart, didn't I? I had a chart, or I used to have a chart, that showed that institutional, like large corporations, institutional selling is higher than it's ever been. Smart money is selling right now. Smart money has been selling record amounts right now. Now, they can do that for a while and the markets can still pump. But if smart money, billion-dollar hedge funds are selling now, ask yourself, why would I be buying right now? We're buying on the hopes of an alt season. And so it's a riskier time, but I think riskier times are good for riskier assets like Bitcoin miners and altcoins. And hopefully we get an alt season sometime, can reap those benefits and then take those profits and do whatever with them. Go to a beach somewhere that's very quiet. Anyways, that's going to do it for the live stream today. Thank you all for watching. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you. We have 14 people. That's awesome. I would do this even if there was just 4 of you. So thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful weekend.